am coming to you today on Zoom with Salaam Green. Salaam is a community activist, educator, spoken word artist, and founder of Literary Healing Arts. That's a lot.
It's
A
a
lot of
lot.
titles. And you've also done some work with us, Create Birmingham, in the past. Would you mind sharing a little bit about all the different hats you wear?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Create Birmingham. Thank you for having me. And just kind of us, it's really Friday. So that's the first thing I had to wake up and realize it's Friday for real, y'all. So these days are going crazy. I don't know if it even matters anymore, but I'm sure it does. But yes, a few, maybe 4 years ago, and I could be wrong because I have that leaky brain syndrome too that we talked about ahead of time about memory. But I graduated from Co-Starters. So my first kind of entree into what Create Birmingham was through the Co-Starters program, which is a program of workshops for entrepreneurs here in Birmingham and globally and internationally, and therefore, and I had an opportunity to go through that particular program a couple of years ago. And that's how I came to know all things of, well, most things Create Birmingham, and also get a chance to kind of start my business, start my social endeavors, and then to just kind of jump into the pool of like what's next in my life. And as a result of that, a couple years later, I got a call from Buddy, the executive director, our great buddy here in Birmingham, about an initiative of going into the community and doing some community organizing work alongside a grant with the city here in Birmingham. So I had a chance to work with some wonderful ladies and Create Birmingham and doing creative conversations around co-starters and entrepreneurship. So I love what Create Birmingham is doing. Had an opportunity to be featured in Create Birmingham before. I love co-starters. So yeah, that's kind of how I got my hat tipped to what y'all are doing.
That's great. And I definitely want to talk about literary healing arts because part of it is just that COVID mentality that we're all in right now, not knowing the future. But I'm going to admit that I maybe cried a little bit watching your TED Talk, and then also the About Us on your blog and why you do what you do. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got started?
Absolutely. And I would admit, I've been crying all the time. Like lately, I'm like, what's wrong? It's like wake up and I'm crying, and then there's joy. So it's a mix of emotions. But I started Literary Healing Arts as a result of my own depression and mental health issues, and also life circumstances. Went through a divorce and that kind of thing. And I started it on a lady's red couch, kind of wrote myself back together again. And when I went to Co-Starters, I was looking at different ideas, and I really fell in love with the whole idea of do your business based on your passion and your mission. And my passion and my mission is to help people use their voices to heal their lives. I believe that words have power, and also our voices have power. We already have a voice. We don't need anyone to help us find it. The only thing sometimes that we need to do is to use tools to help us heal our voices. So I do that through storytelling and poetry and writing workshops, pretty much coaching, all those kinds of things. Crying with people, talking with people, crying with myself about writing, using those words to kind of pull myself back together again when life kind of sometimes takes me down a road that that I did not expect or did not know was coming. So that's kind of what Literary Healing Arts is. It's a term that I coined when I was in Co-Starters based on my healing journey, then also based on my love of words. So I really thank Co-Starters for the platform to think and to create and to use our intellectual and our creative abilities while we're going through workshops as entrepreneurs. And then also, I think the reason why I started the business and the reason why I wanted to do it here in Birmingham is because I encountered so many people like myself, particularly women, but I also work with men who are struggling every day, doing the work, practicing the work. And as a community organizer who has been going out in rural Alabama, helping people kind of learn how to get their life back together after racial tensions or what have you, I said, I want to do that for everybody, everyday people, let's see how that's going to work. And so that's how I started Literary Healing Arts. It was on a red couch. And so now I do a whole lot of writing on a red couch with other people, metaphorically taking that red couch out into the world to help everybody kind of look at how they can heal their lives through using their voices.
I love that. And writer to writer, this is definitely a different format in how I normally interview our subjects and people around Birmingham. And it's a little vulnerable because I can't hide behind my writing. We just have
Yeah.
to have this conversation. But I also always like to tell people, don't think of it as an interview, think of it as a conversation. And we're just getting to know each other. But I will say that I think that I've found remarkable healing in writing. And I do, especially like with what I'm able to share via Create Birmingham, it has really just driven the point home that everyone has a story. And everyone has a beautiful story. I can't begin to describe um, crying with people, laughing with people, and coming out of some of these interviews with kind of new best friends.
Oh,
Because at heart, I think that we all have this kind of common thread that binds us together. And
absolutely.
regardless of where you were born or raised or socioeconomics or what kind of parents you had and life experiences, we have more in common than we have that divides us. So if you can just find that thread, then you're
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I think absolutely that's beautiful, because stories, when I think about stories, especially now having a whole lot of time on my hands to reflect, I think about my grandmother, and I think about the stories that she told, or the story of her life that maybe she didn't sit down to tell us. But I think about her making blackberry pie. I think about her going into her garden. I think about her going and, picking greens, or I think about her making food for her family. I think about all of those things, but particularly now as I'm reflecting on how she was an entrepreneur, how her stories had a thread to whom I am today. Like, why do I believe that our stories are healing? Why do I believe words are healing? It's because I saw my grandmother and my grandfather heal themselves through words and through the things that they have done. And so how now can we take those memories, those good memories, or sometimes memories that might not be so good, but how can we take each one of those memories and then begin to connect it with the memories of someone else, begin to connect it with the memories of our neighbors and of our other family members, and then begin to tell these stories so that everyone can kind of see that, like you said, we not only have that common thread and that connectivity, but we have something now to grow on, some kind of way that we can use to heal our lives, or a journey that we can go on that we otherwise would not have had. So I love that idea. And in Create Birmingham, there's so many creatives of different platforms that they have. And so when you hear their stories, you're like, I did not even know that about you. Like, oh my gosh, like, what did you do? When did that happen? Or that's what you're all about. You mean you can sing and dance, oh my gosh, so just to hear about people's lives, I mean, that's what heals us. That's what connects us. That's what's going to cause us to go back into the next phase of whatever life looks like with a whole different perspective, I think.
I think so too. I hope so. I saw something earlier this week and it said, when we all come out of this, I hope we're all a little kinder to each other. And I think that has to happen. So I want to also talk about, you talk about writing for healing and the challenging times that writing got you through. Obviously, we're in a challenging time now.
Right.
So have you been writing? Have you been encouraging others to write? What would you say is important to push through at this time and write about in this moment?
Oh, like I tell people, it can be challenging for many people, and some people it's a joyful time. So we all have to be cognitive of where we are and what space we're in. And at this point in time, I'm doing a whole lot of reflecting. I think my writing and my healing and my work and my practice and my journey is going to be heavier on the other side of this, or whatever that might look like. I'm really preparing for, as we come out of this, people are going to have questions, and are going to think about reorganizing their life. And that's where I think I come in with my healing art and that kind of thing. So that's what I've been preparing for. But I have been talking to people about, this is a perfect time. If you are mad at your spouse, instead of lashing out, go and write. Get a journal or a piece of paper and write out those thoughts, before we allow our words to be, to come out of our mouths. I'm just asking people to tangibly think about writing right now. You can't write that novel or that memoir or that next, #1 New York Times bestseller. You can write your feelings out. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to allow those feelings to come out on your children or on your spouse or even on yourself. So I've been doing a lot of journaling and helping people kind of journal through what they're going through, so that when they go back to whatever normal looks like, whatever that may be, that we can then kind of reflect on, oh, this is what I was going through. This is what I want to work through, and those kinds of things. So that's what I've been kind of helping people through. And I think lastly, the one thing I hope people get out of this is, I hope that we get out of this the idea that we can reimagine what our lives can be, that we have the power to create and reimagine what we want our lives to be and to become, that we have that magic inside of us. And I hope as we come out of this time, that we come out of this time with an idea of cultivating imagination and reimagining what creativity and connection and how we want to create our lives to be going forward.
Oh my gosh. Well, Salem, I'm going to start crying again. Well, I want to talk about some things you've been doing in the meantime. You started a Facebook group called Heal the Healers.
Yes.
And I love it. I've been checking in every morning since I joined, just because I feel like, especially in the world of social media, it's so easy right now to see divisive posts and divisive news and kind of start your day off in a negative way. And your group, I can totally see where you say that you've been reflecting, because they're kind of these small but powerful reflections and just little moments of beauty. And it has started my day off in a positive way.
Awesome. And I say I follow you too, because you and your children and what you do and your food and your like hiking and all those things helps me as well. So just know that, because you're super positive but also real. So that's really great, and that helps me to like follow people who are real and like, oh, okay, she's like experiencing the same things with routine. But yes, I started the group Heal the Healers because I have seen so many people right now who are frontline, if they even are essential workers, who are doing more work now than they've ever done, particularly creatives and artists. We are putting up videos and we're asked to read to the children, and we are doing all these things so that mainly we can make money or keep our jobs or what have you. But I'm feeling, okay, are we going to get burnt out in this season as creatives? We have always been important, but now we're seeing like, who holds up America? It's artists and creatives and critical thinkers. And so I wanted a group where people who are healers and helpers and are giving hope to the world at this time could just come and have no pressure to post, no pressure to engage, no pressure to do anything except for maybe see some beauty, hear some beautiful words, post part of the beautiful parts of their day or what have you. So that's what it's on my heart. It's always been on my heart to do some Heal the Healer sessions for people who are helpers and healers, to bring hope to people who are, at this time feeling a little bit like, oh, I'm caregiving, I'm protecting, I'm providing, but who's going to do it for me? Or what can I do to kind of, go back and put some water into the well because I feel a little dry.
I love that. So I think in general, writing is a solitary pursuit, or can be. How has your creativity or process changed now that we're under forced isolation in a way? And,
Yeah.
and maybe other abnormal conditions in your life?
Absolutely. I would think like, I'm an introvert to heart, but at the same time, I don't like this either. As an introvert, like I find joy in my day. I rarely get bored. I'm not necessarily finding a whole lot of distress, but at the same time, I'm an empath. So seeing how trauma of other people also is causing trauma for me as well. And this is not our normal routine. So for me, the writing has really been, I've been really thinking about how can I connect not just with other writers, but with other thinkers, other people who maybe don't have an alternative therapeutic practice at this time, it may be art for some people, it may be music for some people, but for some people, journaling and art and writing is part of a process that they may have been kind of dabbling in, but I really want to help them see how you can write for yourself. So I've started just writing for myself. I've done a couple articles for AL.com on my social anxiety, started the Heal the Healers group, but I've really been thinking about how can I just do some writing for myself and helping other people see that your journal is for you. You know, I was a little girl, I had my little journal with my little key, and I would hide it underneath my bed in my little diary. But it was for me, right? It was talking about my boyfriend at the time and, whatever, and high school and all this kinds of things. I want people to go back to that, to when it was just for you. And sometimes it can feel solitary, but also writing and reading can take us into different worlds and imagination that we didn't have before. So for people who may feel isolated, it can maybe help them recreate and imagine what a world would be, and they won't feel as isolated.
I love that. And you went ahead and answered my other question about tips or creative practices for people maybe who don't consider themselves writers, but write to heal or to vent or whatever, in capturing their thoughts in solitude. But those are all really useful tips. And now I feel sort of challenged to write for myself a little bit more. I think that I had a conversation recently where we were talking about people who have kind of an ongoing internal dialogue versus people who kind of receive abstract thoughts and then they float away. And I was like, there's always an internal dialogue.
Yes.
Never shuts up in there. And so for me, this time has been quiet, and it has been sort of really messy in terms of life and multitasking, working with kids and multiple jobs and just doing life in general. But it's been hyper focused when it comes to writing because all of a sudden the noise of daily life is gone. And I love that idea of just writing for yourself and keeping that diary. I think sometimes social media gives everyone the platform to spill out their innermost thought without self-editing first. And I'm the first person to be guilty of that. But, on that note, can you share anything exciting that you are working on, or maybe not exciting, but something that's important to you? I know Magic City, the Magic City Poetry Festival has kind of had to shift as well, and you're involved with that.
Yes, this is Poetry Month. April is Poetry Month, so read a poem every day. So every day I'm sending a poem out to a group I have in Messenger, and a Messenger group I have. So anybody want to hear about that, I send a poem out. But Magic City Poetry Festival with Ashley Jones and her wonderful crew was going to be this month, and I was going to have the opportunity of being nominated as the Eco Poet. And so as soon as we come back, I can't wait to talk more about eco poetry and the whole idea of environmental, land, water, climate change that we are seeing here in our community. This is, I think, not just our community, but globally, with what's happening with health and with this virus and with our climate. This is the best time to talk about how creatives can talk about the environment. And eco poetry, the whole poetry of the land, earth, that we live in, I think is part of the way that I write. I have a background in doing community organizing around environmental racism and turning that community organizing into creative writing and writing workshops. So I was gonna, during the Magic City Poetry Festival, have an opportunity to do some readings on eco poetry and to also kind of have an opportunity to talk to other people about what it's like to talk about your environment and the land that you live in and that kind of thing. So I'm excited for what's going to happen later with the Magic City Poetry Festival. So that's one thing that I'm doing. I'm doing a whole lot of writing around environmentalism. Next week, I'm actually doing Earth Month Climate Cipher with GASP. And that information should be coming out soon. So I'll be doing a poetry reading via Zoom with those Nina Morgan and her people who are doing some great work around Earth Month here in Birmingham, and also GASP. I also will be at UAB next Tuesday with the mental health ambassadors doing a Right to Heal workshop around grief. So WRITE to heal. I do Right to Heal workshops around grief in the community. So I'll be doing that as well. So I have a few things going on that I'm excited about.
That's great. Will you share those links with us?
Yes, I will share those links and put those links in the comments.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time today. This has been
Well, thank
a bright spot for me, for sure.
Well, thank you. It's been a bright spot for me as well. Nice talking with you.
Nice talking to you too, Salaam.
Okay.
Stay well.
Bye-bye.